and welcome to episode 11 of Exploiting the Explicit, where we exploit the obvious in order to learn from life and grow with each other. I'm your host, Abigail Hathaway, and.
I'm your co-host, Corey Diamond.
And we want to thank all of our subscribers and viewers. If you have not subscribed, please do so by clicking that subscribe button below. And we look forward to learning with you and growing together in the future.
Yes.
So, today's topic, I have a theory. And this theory has been proven actually on a scientific, biological, physiological, and now theological level.
And what theory is that, Abigail?
This theory, Corey, is that the outside world, the external environment, is just a mere mirror of our internal self
Mm.
in various ways, whether we
Mhm.
see it or not.
Mm.
Have you ever experienced that phenomenon where everything seems to be in this alignment, where you could have a thought and then all of a sudden a stranger across the room says exactly what you said? Or the other day, I was stepping out of the car, and as I'm stepping out of the car, the song on the radio was talking about stepping out, stepping out. It's like the environment around us can be a mirror when we're in
Mm.
alignment of our mind, body, and soul. However, if we're not in aligned, our thoughts, our words, and our actions, if those three things are aligned, it becomes less of a mirror.
Mm.
Or maybe we just become less aware because we're out of alignment.
Mm.
But the more in aligned we become with our thoughts, our words, and our actions, the more of a mirror the outside world reflects the inside world. So much
Mm.
so where I mentioned this on a previous episode where, I went into work every single day and everyone was in a good mood. The one day, after like 2.5 months, I want to say, of working there, the one day I go in a bad mood, everyone's in a bad mood. So I'm going around to everyone. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I'm in a bad mood today. Sorry, guys. Also, the Gulag Archipelago that Jordan Peterson talks about,
Mhm.
that book, how the man was stuck in the Soviet concentration camp, and he didn't look to the outside world as to what was going on. He looked within. Why am I here? Something I did internally has created this external environment and the situation he's gotten himself into.
Mhm.
So there's just this theory
Mhm.
where out here will drastically change when you change in here, including the people that pop up in your life, the
Mhm.
experiences you have, the opportunities. It will always reflect the state of being you're in because, on a quantum level, we are this in a vibratory state. We're all just wavelengths at the most microscopic scale. And if frequency is a wavelength, what are we emitting? If we're transmitters and receivers, like
Mhm.
antennas.
Mhm.
So if we're putting out a specific frequency, of course, it's going to reflect back at us. If we're, look at the properties of sound distribution or like movement, like sound waves, there's constructive and destructive sound interference. When it's constructive, two sound waves, two frequencies can come, and constructively, they can amplify. And
Mhm.
then destructive, one sound, one frequency can outperform and outweigh the other one, and overpower it and kind of take away that other one, the one that overpowered it, it can like kind of absorb it, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's cancellation effect too,
Mm.
where two specific frequencies could come together at the right angle and cancel each other out, and then there's silence, even though if you're in front of those speakers, you could hear it. But there's a specific point that those two frequencies merge and meet, and at that point, you can't hear anything.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that's integrated in my little theory here, where this just becomes this external reflection of the internal self, the more in alignment we become.
Yeah. No, that theory feels very accurate to the way I've experienced life. And it's funny, like when you talked about the mirror, I thought of like the cartoon. I think it was like Snow White, where the woman goes like, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes in life we don't check the mirror to find out the truth of where the world is for us. Like we avoid the mirror
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to know the truth about ourselves. And so the funny thing about that, like
Or we might have
clip,
shame.
yeah, or we might have shame. And like the funny thing about thinking of that clip is like when she asked the mirror was like Snow White, like not you. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
we don't have the like we don't expect life to reflect the truth back to us, and when it does, we're not ready for it. And so I
Yeah.
think that like
Mm-hmm.
being aware of our internal state and our external state is so important, but it's hard to do because we don't want to know the truth. We I think run from the truth because the truth is sometimes too much for us to bear, too much to handle. But there's a scripture that says like the truth will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once you know
Mm-hmm.
the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And so we actually kind of end up in our own prison of sorts because we're afraid to face the truth. And I think that like when we think about the mirror neurons or the frequency that we're on and we're around, people that are reflecting back to us things that are unhealed in ourselves, and instead of us like looking at the people we're around as a reflection of our own internal
Mm-hmm.
state, we just try to like ignore it, as i.e. not look in the mirror and just be like, oh well, you know I'm a good person just because these people aren't necessarily good people. Like, I can just kind of resonate around them. Them being on this frequency is no reflection of me. And it's like, what kind of delusion is that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, because then cellular osmosis comes into play, and over time, you match them.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's delusion to think that
Mm-hmm.
you can be around people and it not affect you. It's there's a scripture, and I probably mentioned this on another episode before, but it's like bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah.
And it's literally
Mm-hmm.
the truth is that like it's not even like just that you can be corrupted by being around bad company, but when you think about it in terms of the mirror aspect, it's like bad company is a reflection of your internal state, because if you're allowing
Mm-hmm.
these people to be around you, something in you is either unhealed or is curious or
Mm-hmm.
is not as solid in y- your higher self, your
Yeah.
connection to God. Like you aren't as connected to that, and that people that you are allowing into your life is a reflection of that compromise or that damage or whatever it is in you
Yeah.
that's being reflected back to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reflection, and so I have empathy for being in that state,
Mm-hmm.
because like um nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah.
And so we all have unhealed parts of
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of like just making this sound like, oh, if you're around people that you shouldn't be around, you're a bad person. That's not what I'm trying to say, because I have had different periods of life where I've allowed people into my life that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But it's like being more aware as you go forward to check who's around you, because it's not that you're just compromising to be around them, but it's also they're a reflection of something about you
Right.
that either you're running from or you're not accepting, or you know um we've kind of teased about like talking about the shadow before on the show, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're representing that shadow side of yourself that you haven't integrated. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like you think that, oh well, I'm about to bring them up by being around me. But 9 times out of 10, if you're around somebody that's vibrating at a lower frequency, you're not gonna pull them up. they're gonna
Yeah.
pull you down.
Right, because the strength in their negative frequency outweighs the strength you might have in your positive frequency, especially if you're new to getting out and breaking those chains and getting out of those past cycles. You haven't built up enough momentum and strength on the opposite side, so it's easier for them to come and take you down.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's weird because, like, you know how we were talking about, like, the scientific principles, but me being such a big, like, fan of psychology,
Mm-hmm.
like, psychology shows that the brain tends to focus on negative over the positive.
Mm-hmm.
So that receiver that we have for, like, negative energy, negative vibrations, whatever you call it, is literally a psychological principle you can prove that you remember even negative things stronger than you remember positive things. So it's actually
Interesting.
like, it's a battle. Like, that's why the news is
Mm-hmm.
mostly bad news,
Right.
because our brains are wired
Mm-hmm.
to prioritize negative
Mm-hmm.
over the positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that right there, you're already entering into a battle at a disadvantage if you think you're going to be associating with negative people and not get pulled down
Right.
by them, because your brain is kind of like hardwired. And I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what it is that.
Well, my gut's telling me that it's due to the spiritual war that we have
Yeah, yeah.
within, and
Mhm.
evil dominates more than
Mm.
love in this
In this
specific society that we're
yeah, in the
in.
flesh, in the
In the
world of
flesh,
man,
yes, in the world of
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
That's real. That's real. I definitely can see that. And it's like for
Conformity, because conformity is so huge.
yeah.
So of course you're gonna most people for survival is going to conform to the group and group think.
Mhm.
Therefore, if the dominating energy is rooted in evil or selfishness or anything that takes you down,
Mhm.
then that's going to then permeate the cell and then dominate. And especially if they consciously choose to conform, which over 75% of people do in groups.
Yeah.
So
That's true. That's also another psychological phenomena
yeah.
is, groupthink and,
Mhm.
crowd
Mhm.
herd mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just a human
Mhm.
principle. And so, yeah. Um one thing now I'm thinking of too is so church today was kind of like about community, since we
Mhm.
talk about like herd mentality, right? And
Yeah.
so it's not like your community can also be a reflection of your internal state, right?
Mhm.
And you want to make sure that like the herd that you surround yourself with is headed in the direction of God, is headed in the good direction. You're not like part of a herd that's headed off a cliff, because there's this example in the Bible about like demons that were like cast out of a man, and all the pigs went flying off the cliff because the
Really?
demons were cast into the pigs. Yeah.
Okay.
And so to me, like, I can also see that as an example of like the herd that you in. If you're not careful, they can go off the cliff at any moment.
Right, right. Wait, so then in the Bible you said there's a story of the demons being cast from humans and they went into the pigs?
Yeah.
Do you think that's why some religions don't allow to eat pork? Because they're
Well,
possessed with
this is kind of like a
demons.
newer testament like
Okay.
story that Jesus cast the demons out of a man to pigs. And I think that like the religions that don't eat pigs, that's like further beyond that story.
Okay.
It's like a different reasons. Pigs have been known as being unclean
Yeah.
in a lot of those religions,
Mhm.
not just because of that story, but
Okay.
like pigs are just gross. I
Yeah.
mean, you think about how they'll eat anything,
But they're
so they
cute when
just
they're
been
newborns. They're
right.
so
They are,
small. They're
yeah.
so cute.
Yeah, but it's like cultural, religious, like
Yeah,
of
yeah.
other reasons
I just didn't
that
know
that
if
they're
it
just
was linked.
considered unclean animals. Yeah,
Mhm.
but no, it's another good reason not to eat pigs, because they're demon possessed.
Right, right. And what you eat, you become.
No, no, I like me some good pork. I won't swear off pigs. But no, there's a lot of reasons for not eating pork, and I know a lot of people that's just kind of like, yeah, I don't want pork. they will pass on that junk every time. I'm like, hey, I respect it. Where's the barbecue ribs? No, they have some good beef ribs too if you don't
Yeah,
eat pork.
I like
So
beef ribs.
yeah, you don't eat pork?
I here and there. I
Okay,
don't really buy it. I mean, there's bacon in the fridge because someone put it there, not because
okay,
I bought it.
yeah, yeah. It's
But I don't know. I'm kind of
That's something I think the audience here can chime in on, cause
yeah.
like what are y'all thoughts on pork?
Mhm.
Like comment down below, cause I want to know like what are y'all like how do you feel? Did you read something that made you say yeah I don't want pork anymore, or like
Mhm.
is it a religious reason? I'm curious.
Right. What's fueling your source of not doing a specific behavior,
Yeah, or
regardless
that
it's
too.
pork or not?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
what yeah, did something influence you? Are you mirroring your external world?
Mm.
Is the people around you not eating it? Is that
Mhm.
why? Because you want to conform and fit in?
Right.
And or are you in a relationship that swayed you and you
Oof.
ate pork before then?
Yeah.
Because I actually, thinking about it, it was my freshman, sophomore, junior year. It was my junior year of college. I remember dating a Muslim for the first time,
Mm.
and he was giving me this whole spiel on why he didn't eat pork.
Mhm.
And I stopped eating pork, I think, for years the way he explained it to me.
Mm.
But why?
Yeah, you didn't
Just
believe it deep down. It was just something that you did to kind of conform.
conform and listen. It was like I let his belief just get implanted into me, and then I
Yeah.
rolled with it without looking into it, without questioning it. And then I remember being like, okay, well, if someone brings it, like if they had like a BLT pizza from Jets,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would totally eat
Smash
it,
it. Yeah.
So I'm just like, where is this root coming from? And then I realized when I dated Muslims or I didn't date Muslims, I wouldn't eat pork if I was dating a Muslim to conform to fit into this dynamic
Mm.
versus what would I do if no one was around?
Mm. Yeah.
But then I had a roommate that had a pet pig also, so that kind of was difficult
Oof.
to eat pork
Eating a
again.
little porky.
Yeah, like why would you eat your pig?
You ate a friend. Like
I didn't
literally,
eat a
it's like
friend. I
cannibalism.
know, right? And then the craziest thing, she'll see this one day. She fed her pig bacon.
That is
It
cannibalism.
was
And
horrible.
pigs will eat other pigs. They'll eat other live pigs from what I
That's
heard. They go
scary. So they
yeah,
are
the pigs
demonic
are
filled. The demons did go into them. Okay.
Oh my god.
But anyway, as we digress, because we're hungry. Mirroring effect.
Right.
Oh,
What are we mirroring?
yes.
Yeah. No, it's important
Mhm.
to be mindful of like our environment and how like not even just the people that we associate with can be a mirror
Yeah.
to our internal state, but like
Mhm.
the work we do, like so many things
Everything
outside
in a
is
way.
a mirror of like
Mhm.
our internal state.
I have an example. I remember someone actually told me I should write a book on this concept at
Mm,
one point
mm,
because I was heavily online dating.
mm.
And I'm talking like thousands of dates. I'm
Wow.
talking about like I would go anywhere from 1 to 4 dates a day.
Whoa.
It was bad. I mean, if anyone knows me out there, I'm a ward of the state. So, like, I don't have family. I had a lot of free
Mm,
time. It was just me. So, I was
wow.
just trying to find my hubby. And I
Wow.
was like, well, I can move on with my life once I get my husband. I'll have a hubby and a hub, like a home, and then I can branch
Mm.
off from there. Life. So, anyway, back in the day. But it would get to a point where it'd be so tiring because it was a full time job of where I was just trying to find a husband.
Wow.
I know, sad, right? So then I'd go on all these
I didn't
dates.
mean for it to sound judgmental. That's just dedication.
Dedicate.
That's the way I
I am
frame it.
determined to
Yes.
find my husband, guys. So if anyone out there, anyway. So I would go on these dates, but since it was so tiring how much like energy I put into it, and I could never find anyone of good quality, it
Mhm.
seemed, or I wasn't good enough for them, or
Mm.
whatever, it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I would do that probably for like 2 or 3 months, and then I would stop for like 3 or 4 months, and then I'd do that again for 2 or 3 months, or
Mm.
maybe a month, whatever. There was just bouts of like a duration that I would be all the way on date, no dates at all. So what I discovered, because there would be times that I would go on those dates and then I'd end up in a situation that would like swear me off of dating, like I'm
Mhm.
done. So
Mhm.
then I would like have maybe like 60 to 90 days to just live my life for me, change, improve, because it was all learning experiences. I would learn more about
Mm.
myself, especially when I found like guys that I was interested in. I wasn't at the level that they wanted their partner to be. Like, I didn't have enough community. I didn't have the right type of job, or I was homeless, like stuff like that. Like, okay, you have to meet a certain standard at least, right?
Mm.
And I learned every time I went back into the dating pool, all of my matches directly reflected who I was
Mm.
in that moment, or whatever I just changed about myself or improved upon myself. And then I
Wow.
would put it away and I wouldn't date, do something else, change. And then literally all my matches would then reflect who I was again in that moment. I remember telling someone about this because I mean, it was thousands of data points over the years that I observed and collected, and I see patterns. So to me, it was obvious in hindsight over time. Come to find out, some guy did this too, was dating a bunch of chicks and wrote a book on this phenomenon. And he
Wow.
noticed that all of the people that he would date, I wish I could remember the name or that guy's name or the book. Probably Google it somehow.
Mhm.
Ask AI, it'll find it. And he literally realized that the pool of dating that he received, the people that he would meet would be a reflection of wherever he was
Mhm.
at in life and his character. Not
Mhm.
necessarily because, I mean, I dated pilots and lawyers and doctors and whatnot, but I was never, well, I'm a pilot, but I was never, I'm a lawyer, wannabe lawyer. Okay, I was never a doctor. You know what I mean? So, like, I was reflecting like people in careers and financial situations that I did not match. I'm
Mm.
talking about character and the self within. You
Mhm.
could always find the reflection of yourself, or the
Mhm.
parts, like you said, that you haven't healed yet would come out.
Mhm.
Like my codependency was
Mhm.
then matched because then
Mhm.
who I met and then started dating, and they exploited that part of me. It's like
Mhm.
evil could come and seep in and find what's not healed and then match that part, that the shadow self. It'll be a
Yeah.
match to your shadow that you haven't yet healed.
Yeah.
Someone is always a reflection of you some way.
Yes.
And especially the parts that you don't like of them, that is part of you that needs to heal within in
Mm.
some form. Like, for example, you might not like the narcissist you're dating,
Mhm.
but it's linked because you have codependency that needs to be healed, where
Mhm.
we're the perfect prey for a narcissist versus, you know what I mean? Like, you have to, there could be a reflection that might not be obvious.
Yeah.
You have to extract the meaning of what you're seeing and what is this link to why it is a reflection of me.
Yeah.
It might not be like, oh, well, I love ice cream. You love ice cream too. Or I have a dog. You have a dog. Not
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
yeah.
literal reflection. This is like a metaphysical, unseen type spiritual underlying connection. That's a
Yeah.
mirror.
And that's why I think like taking time to get to know someone when you're dating is
Yeah.
so important before you
Mm-hmm.
um
100%.
like
Get
go
intimate.
all in
Right.
because you got to find out what part of this person is reflecting me. Cuz
Right.
you don't know, cuz like you said, sometimes you can have these surface level congruencies with the person. It's like, "Oh, wow, we both went to the same school. Oh, wow, we both love, martial arts or
Mm-hmm.
whatever." And it's like, "Oh, we have so much in common." And then you can think like, "Yeah, this person is mirroring me. It's great." And then it's like you got that kind of connection with somebody early on. Then you got to start finding out, okay, so we seem to be a match, but energetically,
Yeah.
how are we matching?
That's what matters.
And what
Mm-hmm.
frequency is this person on? Because
Yeah.
that'll be a great reflection of the frequency you're on. And so if you
Right.
give it some time and you recognize, oh, this person is reflecting this part of me
Mm-hmm.
that is like unhealed,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like take a step back, like, and then do the work within yourself to either that person no longer wants to be around you anymore because you're elevating
Yeah.
to a level that they can't resonate with, or they'll match you there, and they'll be like, "Oh wow, I see this person is trying to, you know, be better and heal from this part that I was attracted into them when I met them, but now they're vibrating on a different frequency, so I want to match that, and you can both heal together." But that's
Mhm.
not going to happen if you rush into things and
Exactly.
like try to uh just project this level of intimacy onto this
Mhm.
person that should not be there, because
Mhm.
the thing that you probably like about them the most is the thing you'll end up hating about
Mhm.
them at some point. And it's
Interesting.
because
Yeah.
it's a unhealed part of yourself, or unhealed trauma, or unhealed something that you like in them for whatever reason. Because I guess I don't know why it is that humans are attracted to the things that they won't like at some point. But
Mm.
that's what it is.
Interesting.
That's what
Okay.
I've recognized. That's what I
Mhm.
realized. It's like a lot of times if we end up like being drawn to somebody, we're not only drawn to the good in them, but we're also drawn to the shadow side of them, or whatever trauma that
Mhm.
that they bring up in us, and we're trying to like in a way fix our own trauma through them. It's like they are,
They're like an aid.
yeah, they can
Yeah.
prove
For
to
the
us that whatever trauma we experienced in the past wasn't accurate, and we actually do deserve it. We're trying to rewrite our own story through somebody else.
mm.
It's like a, I'm sure there's like a whole theory around it. I feel like I've seen this in something. I can't remember
Mhm.
whether it was like a Carl Jung theory or what, but
Mhm.
it is something like we really do try to like heal ourselves in these relationships.
Mhm.
And it's so, and just tying it back to the mirror phenomenon,
Mhm.
making sure we find out what actually is being reflected to us in the people we're dating, because it's not always what it seems like is being reflected.
Exactly. And then and also like getting picking back off of that with the intimacy component,
Mhm.
because once as soon as you get physical and intimate and you have like unprotected sex, not to, well, explicit, avoiding the explicit here. I'm going to exploit some explicit
Cover your
content.
ears, kids.
If you have unprotected sex, then the two bodies then merge, and over time you become one. So much so, you better, when you see that individual's habits and how they are, you should only ever get physical and have sex with someone you want to be more like, because over time
Mm.
you two merge and become one. And
Mhm.
studies even show those that are married over time, their faces even change shape and they
Mhm.
start to look like each other more from
Mhm.
the day they got married to the day, like if they're 50 years into
Mm.
marriage, like their physiology shifted and morphed into more of each other,
Wow.
which is proven.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why it's, like having one night stands and all that. It's just you're that's a mirror. You two are mirroring the same type of energy. You both want that, I guess, possibly. But being careful of who you get intimate with, because the mirror effect is going to
So real.
increase. So much so that one of my ex-boyfriends, I remember he woke up and like did this weird like hand thing. And then I just remember my gut telling me, if we start having sex, I'm going to start doing that hand thing, because that's just the phenomenon that I know that occurs when you have sex with someone. That's why it's like, wait 90 days until the veil comes off, like really get to know this person, because
Yeah.
then you can adopt those characteristics. And sure enough, after a few months, my hands started doing the same thing when I would
Mm.
wake up unconsciously,
Mm.
subconsciously. And I was like, "Oh my goodness." And it took over a year for it to go away
Yeah.
after I broke up with him.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I think sometimes people think it's prudish for Christians to say like wait till marriage before sex, but I mean that's one of the biggest like protections
Yes.
to ending up joined with somebody and taking on those characteristics we don't want, is like wait until marriage.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think is way easier said than done, and a lot of people decide not to. But if you're not going to wait to marriage, at least give it a long period of time before you
Mhm.
decide to share your temple, share God's
Yeah.
temple with someone
Mhm.
else,
Mhm.
because yeah, you don't always want what you think you want, and
Yeah.
you're not always going to get what you think you're going to get, because if somebody is willing to be with you unprotected early on, then you're not special. They do that with other people,
Yeah.
and you don't know what kind of demons or spirits or disease or whatever they carrying on them, and they're bringing to you.
Yeah.
And so just
Disease, disease.
yeah, and so just like
Mhm.
kind of let that be a warning. Maybe somebody watching this might need to hear this, but
Right,
be
right.
careful like who you let into you to like take over your
Right.
energy, your space, because
Mhm.
that
We're going to mirror them.
yeah, we're gonna mirror them,
Yeah.
and it's like,
The devil can
especially,
hide.
I feel like this is especially important note to guys, real quick, because like
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of guys, I think they will sleep with women with no intention of being anything more than just sex.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that women don't do this, because I know women do this too,
Mhm.
but it's different reasons I realize for guys and women. And so, like, if you a guy and you're gonna be with a woman with no intention of being with her because you don't respect her, and you don't respect her, then you don't respect yourself, because that's a reflection of
Yeah.
that. And so, if you
Yeah.
don't respect yourself, uh, and if it's a girl, you know, like, oh yeah, I wouldn't marry her. She's not marriage material. Then it's something about her you don't respect. And if you are willing to be with somebody that you don't respect, you're going to become like somebody you don't respect. And
Yeah.
you're already someone you don't respect. So you're just
Mhm.
becoming more of someone you
Mm.
don't respect.
Right,
And
like
so
totally.
that's something I
Yeah.
feel like is important
Yeah.
to kind of put out there in terms of like the mirroring component.
Mhm. Oh, 100% I agree.
Mhm. It applies to women too.
Right,
But I
right. I'm a
think
woman.
that
I'm
yeah, yeah.
agreeing.
I think that, specifically I realize it seems like guys it's easier for them to try to separate the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard stories. I don't know. No comment. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's individual,
Yeah.
but overall, for the most part,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Well,
it's been an interesting topic
it
today. The
has.
mirroring and the depths of the mirror in which it goes.
Yeah. It
Any
has.
last final concluding thoughts, Corey, on this?
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Make sure you stay in tune with your reality, because you don't know what's being reflected back.
And stay in tune with us at Exploiting the Explicit here on YouTube.
Yes.
Until next time,
Un-
and thank you for watching.